Hello everyone and welcome to another Fix Your Funnel video. Today what we're going to be talking about is automated conversations and some of the best practices around that particular feature. Now the reason that I want to do this video today is because we still see a lot of confusion surrounding how to create keywords properly, how to properly implement the conversation feature itself, and just a few things around that. So we want to make sure that that's clarified so you guys can use this feature to the best role that it can play in your business. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what are some of the benefits and challenges that conversations, one, can alleviate for you and what they can do effectively. So one of the best things that I see with conversations is the ability to actually quickly gather new leads without you having to manually be involved in that process. And what I mean by that is I can implement a keyword in several different situations. So I can upload it to social media, I can have something on my website, I can do ads that have a call to action using my particular keyword. And all someone has to do is text that keyword, and I'm able to actually create a framework that captures the information that I need. And most commonly, that's stuff like your name, email, phone numbers captured automatically. So all of that I'm able to do with just a conversation and implementing it where I want it to be seen and used and everything like that. And the other great thing is I can take over manually from this process. And I think that's something that's actually underutilized a lot, is people will just use this conversation to capture a lead and then they just begin bombarding them with emails, when in reality what I would recommend you do is when you take this conversation is end these conversations and transition it into a live conversation with someone who can actually take that role and take that person. Maybe they're ready for, they're in a buying decision right then. You could actually just convert that into a live conversation using SMS, have that conversation, set up a call, do whatever the next part of that process is. Obviously, some of the challenges that are taken away with this is capturing leads in real time can sometimes be challenging depending on the situation. Making customers go and fill out a form, or they have to go to your website and do certain things, and kind of taking several steps to actually capture that lead. Whereas if I implement a keyword and I put it up there and someone's interested, they can just simply text that keyword and that process begins automatically. So we kind of talked about, how requiring them to go to our website, it just makes the process more difficult. Sometimes it kind of just shuts down the whole process and I'm like, maybe I'll check on it later, and I just kind of continue on with my day. The other thing is the lack of being able to trigger certain follow-up. So obviously with FixYourFunnel, I'm able to connect it all automatically directly into my Keep account. So I can use these conversations to actually trigger follow-up automatically. There's no process that I really have to be involved with. This conversation can trigger the next phase of whatever my process is and actually just kind of put all of that on autopilot. And I can get involved at whatever stage of the process requires that human touch that I want. One strategy that I want to talk about in particular, because we see a lot of success with people that use it, is capturing leads from the stage. So we've all seen situations where we have a live event and a speaker, and they're up there and they're talking about this product and you're really interested in it, and then the process just kind of ends. They might have a call to action of checking out their website or going and checking out their booth at the event if it's a live event or something like that. And it all makes the process, again, just a little bit longer, a little bit more steps involved. It makes it harder for me to just take that action. Obviously, you're going to have a certain percentage of people that really like the product or service and they want to go in and invest in it. But what we've seen is some people that take this keyword feature, so this conversation feature, and they add it into their slides or as a call to action at the end of their event or anything like that. And they put the keyword up there with their phone number, and they're like, if you want to get more information, or if you want to get these slides, or if you want a free demo or anything like that, go ahead and text this keyword. We see a very large percentage of the people attending actually texting it because they're interested in what you're offering. So it all kind of depends on what you're offering in that call to action. They want to kind of see what's there. They want to learn more. They want to be involved more with what your product or service. They want to get more information from it. So you see a large percentage of people actually kind of engage with those conversations from a stage, whereas you'd see a much lower percentage if I have them fill out a form after the event, or I ask them to go visit my booth, or I put my website up there and I'm like, hey, go check this out, go to this particular page or anything like that. It also allows you to kind of remove that kind of sales pitchy part of your actual your speech. We've all kind of seen that probably as well, is you have this great event and they're talking about something really interesting, and then it always has to transition into this almost sales pitch like presentation where they have to try and get you amped up and go and do some form or go to their website or the product they're offering right there at their booth or something like that. And it always just kind of, in my mind, turns it to be a little bit more cringy. And with using keyword conversations as a call to action, it makes it flow a lot more natural. It makes it a lot easier for you just to continue on talking about the important factors in your product or service, things they'd be interested in, and removing that whole sales-like part of the presentation from it. I want to show you kind of an example. So we have this document here, and I will mention that if you can't see this document that well, or you want to get this document and examine it a lot more closely, feel free to reach out to FixYourFunnel directly. We'd be happy to send you this anatomy of an automated conversation. But what I want to take from this actual document is just a few key factors, because like I said, these are some of the things that I see either missed when the conversation's created, or people have lots of questions around it. Keyword selection is one thing I see people struggle with a lot. A lot of people will try to do something either too simple, which I know sounds really silly, or too complicated. Too complicated is something like, text initiative 5 to this number. And that doesn't really work because keywords in and of itself, they're one word. It has to be one word. I want it to also flow naturally. And what I mean by people that use something too simple, which again I know sounds super silly, but when I say too simple, you're using words that can be used in just normal conversation. So that's something you want to definitely avoid. You don't want someone triggering your conversation on accident. So you don't want to be using simple keywords that could be used in back and forth conversation. You want your conversations, your automated conversations, to be triggered on purpose. You want it to be purposeful so that when someone texts that keyword, they know why they're doing it. They know what they're going to, there's something behind it. You don't want them triggering it on accident because, one, it always makes you look a little bit silly as you have an automated conversation start replying to somebody and they didn't even know what they did. They just were texting you or having a conversation with you, and all of a sudden an automated conversation starts. The other thing is I recommend keeping conversations short. So the preferred method that I like is I do 3 steps. So I do 3 steps, which is my initial response after the keyword where I'm asking for a name, the next response where I'm asking for an email, and then my next part of my conversation can go one of 2 different ways. So the final text or the third text of a conversation goes one of 2 ways by if somebody could potentially be in a buying decision when they're texting this keyword, then I want to ask an open-ended question. And you can see it down here in our little document. You can see it there, right there at the bottom. It says, by the way, why did you text demo to our number today? Now, this is an example of just an open-ended question where we talked about conversations can automatically transition into a live conversation. So I can take an automated conversation, transition to live, using an open-ended question and having somebody ready on the other end for when that person messages in. That's a perfect example if someone's in a buying decision when they text my keyword, that I can transition it to a live conversation. There's other things you can do outside of that. If your buying process is a lot more complex and there's more stages and steps to kind of continue on, you could do things like sending them to a survey to fill out, get more information, sending them to a particular link to watch a video, or depending on what your process is or what the buying process looks like in your business, you can kind of craft that final conversation there. Let's not get off on a tangent there, but like I said, we want it to be 3 steps essentially. The third step being your transition into whatever the next stage is, whether that's a live conversation or triggering some sort of automation inside of Keep to follow up. The other thing is avoiding word walls. So we don't want to get too wordy with the conversations and the text that we're using in these conversations. Again, it's supposed to be a quick and seamless process, and we actually have a little bit of an example of it. We're guilty of this as well. You just get either too excited or want to try and too much information into a conversation. You can actually see it here in the middle. I have my little red arrow here. This is a perfect example of a word wall where I just get way too wordy, trying to put too much all into my conversation at once. So again, just keep it simple, make it flow natural. Think of just like a natural conversation, but it's automated, so it kind of helps you to keep things more simple. So those are just some key points. Again, I said if you want to get this document and kind of examine it more closely, look at each of the steps, anything like that, feel free to reach out to Fix Your Funnel support team, and we'd be happy to send that document over to you. So again, I just want to reiterate a few things. Is one, keep your conversations short and sweet. Make it seem natural. Get the information that you need to continue your process. So in an ideal world, that's going to be their name, phone number, and email. Phone number you capture automatically, but your conversation, capture that name and that email, and then continue with your process, whether that be moving to a live conversation or triggering some sort of automation and Keep to kind of continue that process on. Again, avoid those word walls. Don't get too wordy. Try and keep it short and to the point with what you're doing. If your call to action is on point, then they should know why they're texting this keyword. They should know what they're getting from it or what potentially they could get from it. And then, again, transition to that live conversation with those questions. That's the one thing I see missed most often is a conversation is implemented, it's doing great, but at the end of their conversation, they're not doing anything. The third step says, thanks for your email or whatever it is that they're saying, and it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't ask any questions. It doesn't transition anywhere. It doesn't provide what's going to happen on the next step. It's not providing any expectations to the customer, like what's going to happen next. I'm going to send you an email. It doesn't ask any questions. So do that with your final step of your conversation. Either transition to live or set those expectations. Send a link to a survey. Explain what's going to happen next, something like that, just so that the conversation doesn't just simply drop and nothing happens. If you'd like to learn more, or if you want to get a little bit more information or see how to set up some of these conversations, feel free to reach out to Fix Your Funnel support team, and we'd be happy to walk you through it. Have a great day.